Well, I majored in philosophy and sociology both, and so I had, to do a lot of reading from all ages since the beginning of writing, basically. And it seems to me that culture to culture and globally, when a mindset is replaced, which is a religious mindset is replaced, it's replaced by another religious mindset. And do you ever think there'll come a time where it will be replaced by a secular rationality rather than another religious dogmatic mindset? Because it seems we're running out of places for theists to go after their mindsets and dogmas get overturned.
Yeah. I'd certainly like to think that that's what, well, I do think that for the most part with most people is what will eventually happen. When it'll happen, whether or not I'll be alive to even get a whiff of that is another thing. But there's another problem to this, and that is when you look at kind of from an anthropological standpoint of how we've invented gods. We talked about this a little bit yesterday on the Nonprofit Show.
Okay.
We used to invent gods that were very specific and filled very specific niches. And then once science and our understanding, or science prompted our understanding of of reality, we found out, well, Zeus isn't really throwing lightning bolts, and there isn't really a god that drags the sun around the earth, because the earth goes around the sun, and et cetera, et cetera. And so those gods get replaced by gods that are gradually more nebulous. And that's, so you get towards the modern area where you have a lot of people who buy into a monotheistic, or I guess maybe we should say pseudo-monotheistic, considering
right.
Yes. Everything else. But their view of God is that God is transcendent, it transcends time, reality, whatever the heck that is, and how they come up with it. But they've defined their God in such a way that it is very unlikely to be disproven by simple discoveries, that it's something that ends up just being taken on faith. They don't need any rational justification for it. And so it's really difficult to eradicate ideas like that. And the next step, which we're seeing more of now, I think, is the people who'd say, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Now they've just defined everything away, and they've come up with a term that's really meaningless. That even they probably don't have a good definition for. But I'm spiritual. I don't even want to try and describe it, because no matter how many times I ask for people to explain it, nobody can.
I heard you guys get into that last week with your "What does it mean?" episode, and yeah, I've encountered that quite a bit, and it becomes frustrating, because I have really good friends that don't even believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and still claim to be Christians, and I can't for the life of me figure out why they're holding on to the dogma when they reject the basic tenets of the dogma, which is, if you push most theists, they end up rejecting some of the basic and major tenets of their dogma, like the foundations of their dogma, yet they still try to hold on to the fact that their beliefs are founded in something, and I just find it incredibly frustrating.
Well, I think that part of the reason people cling so tenaciously to religious beliefs, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that what they believe probably isn't true, I think it's an almost childish need for certainty in their lives. And science doesn't give you any certainties. We deal in probabilities, but we try to quantify our uncertainties when we talk about things. I work as an engineer, so everything I do is subject to some degree of uncertainty. Well,
right.
I'm comfortable with that because I can quantify that uncertainty and then use it to inform my decisions. And I think what you have a lot of people dealing with is that they can't deal with the level of uncertainty about, well, what happens after you die, or, what if there is no God? What if we're really all alone in the universe? And so these things cause, I don't know, some kind of personal crisis or whatever. And it comes to taking that next step and rejecting religious claims. They just can't do it. And I'm probably oversimplifying a lot of what happens there, but that's something that seems to come up over and over again when people email us. We try to pin them down to get them to describe their beliefs and explain, what it is, what are you asking? What's the question here? And it gets right down to, they need to know for sure something, and there aren't any for sures in life.
I understand that
But
completely.
there are some incredibly close to for sure's. Like I've talked many times on the show about how I reject the idea of absolute certainty. So when people come and say, like Bill Maher's done recently, that atheists are just as bad as the religious folks, as they claim I don't claim absolute certainty that there are no gods. I just happen. Well, first of all, atheism is simply a lack of belief or a lack of acceptance of the claim that God exists. I go a step further. Sorry?
I said I completely agree there that atheism doesn't put forth any positive beliefs. It's just the rejection of theism.
I actually go the step further towards strong atheism, and I would say that I actively believe that there are no gods. Can I prove this? Can I demonstrate it? No. Is it anything I claim with an extremely high degree of certainty? Pretty high, but not nearly so high as things that we learn about reality from science. There are some things. I mean, you can throw a cotton ball at me using whatever weaponry you want, as long as the cotton ball is the only thing in there. You don't hide something behind it. You cannot possibly get that thing going fast enough to do me any real harm. There's just not enough mass there. We understand that. Now, there could be, a freak accident, gunpowder, whatever sticks to it and turns it into a better projectile. But in those specific circumstances where just the cotton ball is going to impact me, there's simply no way, practical or possibly otherwise, for it to do harm. So that's like way up there at the damn near certain, if not really certain level.
I'm in that exact same boat. I guess I would be considered an anti-theist, but I certainly believe that every single conception of God that I've ever been presented with, which is a lot from, Judaism to Christianity, Islam, Zoroastrianism, etc. And I believe that they're all easily refutable. And so in that case, I can say that there's no God, and the tripartite God of omniscient, omnipotent, and benevolent, I also believe is a logical fallacy. So if that's how people are going to decide God, then, determine God, I can say that there is no God. And I actually wrote my sociology dissertation on American students and the rise of fundamentalism and the increase in the population that believes they know basically everything for certain because the Bible is a fact, and how that is affecting our public education and why we're ranked as low as we're ranked in most standardized testing.
Yep, definitely.
And that is that such a a mindset in which you believe you know everything, even from the time you're 5, 6, 7 years old, you know everything, and brilliant physicians, brilliant, physicists, brilliant biologists, they don't know anything. They've got it all wrong.
Yeah, and that is
a dangerous mindset going up against, other countries that don't produce children with a mindset, that produce children that have an inquisitive mind.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is really important, and it's an important distinction.